Hello, gang. Coming on here soon. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. Wait for a few more of you to come on. And good news, and I'm going to try to broadcast on Facebook at the same time. Even though on Facebook, it's a long story, I won't go into it. You have the wrong title there. This is most certainly not Daily Art Adventure 926. This is. Well, let me get the official clapper. Now, how many of you really get to work with a clapper every day? So this is Daily Art Adventure number 930, woohoo! Which I've called Starting a Painting with a Tight Drawing. So you Facebook friends, it's 9:30, Daily Art Adventure, 9:30. There we go. Whew! That does sting. That clapper works real good. My ears ring every time I do it. Well, hello, hello, hello. Good to have you guys here. Hello already to Wisconsin. Greg, my goodness, thanks for speaking up. I don't recognize your name. I'm glad you're with us. I'm still fighting a nagging cough, so forgive me. All right, let's talk about, and hello, Travis Lloyd. Glad you're here. All right, I've called this starting. This is a very different for me. Let me back up to anybody who's very new to my channel. Let me get my volumes down so you don't get to hear me twice. I get to hear myself 3 times. Lucky me. Once when I say it, second in this headphone, and anyway, such is the price of broadcasting. Very different painting. I was thinking a few minutes ago, it's kind of like a cross between Norman Rockwell and Vincent van Gogh. The Rockwell-ish. So this is a commission painting, you may be sure. It's a commission painting. It's for this girl right here, who in the painting is 13 years old. And the photograph was taken, I think, in 1981. So you do the math. She's a little over 13 now. 39 anyway. My dear new friend, Vidette. And I am doing a painting from her memory. So talk about a challenge. So here's the latest sketch. That's the last sketch, but let me bring you guys up to speed. And again, I do this largely because I think it might be instructive for some of you who are aspiring artists. First of all, this is a print that she gave to me, and the 3 girls in the girls, I'm calling it for the moment, I'm calling it Girls Trio. This is Vidette right here, and these are her 2 friends. So that's part of what I had to work with. Of course, I scanned that at a very high resolution and printed it off slightly larger. In addition to that, she gave me this picture of herself. She told me that this dress was pink. In the photograph, it was gray-white, so I colorized it. In fact, I'm going to keep that out as a reference here because I haven't done much work yet on her dress. So let's put that over there. And then, I don't need to show you all this, but this is some of the verbiage, the emails that went back and forth between the 2 of us. This is not all of it. And again, I show you this, again, just because if there's any students out there or early journey painters scratching your head, say, man, how do you even go about, how do you even start the process of painting someone's memory? Well, she tells me on the phone that I do a bunch of research on the internet, like what kind of microphones did they use back then? What did this is a TV fundraiser studio. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So, and the reason I show you this is because often a large part of being a real artist is working on the left side of your brain, the analytical, linguistic, technical, mathematical. You have to think stuff. It's not just all free creativity. Right side, it's both. Likewise, here's another page, and I'm sorry, my apologies to those of you who've seen this already, but see, here's a couple different, I looked up microphones, studio mics in the 1980s, and said, which of these? And she said, yeah, more like that one. I looked up television, telethons, fundraiser events in the 1980s, came up with 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And she said, yeah, mostly like this, a little bit like this. All right, so again, that's just part. Just so happened my brother-in-law was hanging out with me at the time, and he said, oh, I have a picture of my daughter and 3 of her friends that are the same age. So I looked at that to get an idea of what the girls look like. I did a Google search for girls singing. I ended up not using that very much, but that's the research you do. Then I did, for myself, a real quick thumbnail. Then I went from that to a larger sketch here that has been erased because I turned this paper over on my light table and traced through the back. Is that making sense? So if this is on a light table, you can see. So this is my tight drawing, and as you can see, I've ended up with a pretty close correlation between this and this. Following that, I blew up that sketch, and that little one I just showed you, and I did a tighter drawing. So this is sketch number 4. This is sketch number 4. And then same thing, turn this upside down on a light table. And so this is sketch number 5, whereas you see a lot more detail, a lot more shading. And then I took that sketch number 5, and worked on it in Photoshop, and basically came up with this. So in Photoshop, I tweaked it. That's sketch number 6. Then, then we took a complete detour, and I said, well, maybe we're barking up the wrong tree. Maybe I should try a completely different angle. So interrupt, and said, how about this, where the girls are facing? And she said, yeah, that's nice, but no, she liked this better. So yahoo. I was glad to hear that because I really didn't want to do that all over. Then, very late in the process, so those of you who are artists, you're finding this fascinating. Those of you who are not, you're bored to tears. Sorry about that. But let me do this in order. So after we determined that this was the way to go, I said, well, let me do some stylistic sketches. So I took basically this image, printed it out actual size, and then did some gouache to say maybe something like that. And again, she and I went back and forth and determined that even these are too tight, accurate, realistic. Part of it, though, was that she didn't like the way she looked. Does that make sense? Very late in the process, she sent me this photograph of herself. And of course she thought, well, that's not going to do any good. Head down at an angle, eyes closed. But believe it or not, it turns out this was the best photograph I had. So from that, I did a quick sketch of her face, actually traced part of it, opened her mouth, opened her eyes, and then again, tweaked that, turned over, drew it again, tweaked it in Photoshop. So I went from this to this. So the face that I have in here now is based largely on this late photograph of her. Whew. Are you with me? I wouldn't blame you if you're not. Let me see who's saying hi. Uncle 60, good to see you, my friend. Yes, exactly. And hello, Bill Reeves. Thanks for joining me on Facebook. All right, next stage, next phase. So here's some technology. And again, only those of you who are artists would care about all this. But I took essentially this print. So I put the correct face in Photoshop, put the updated face of Vidette, is her name, Vidette, my friend, there. Put it in. So now I have the finished sketch, if you will. And I took that sketch and I blew it up on my printer. Now this is 8 pieces of paper, 8.5 by 11, spliced together. Does that make sense? It's got tape all over it on the front. So this is the actual size of the canvas, right? And then I took a piece of charcoal, rubbed it all over the back, one area at a time. And this is important if for any of you who want to do this. It's not just charcoal, it's a charcoal stick and then smudged, rubbed out with a napkin, a paper towel, if you will, okay? So that's very important. Then, of course, once that's all done, I taped this onto my canvas, because I don't want to redraw. I mean, I've spent a lot of time trying to get this exactly right. I don't want to waste all that energy. So I taped it up here, and and then traced it. Now, just one more little detail, and I find that many artists that I hear online, they'll show you this, but they miss one detail that's quite important to me. Do you see this funny, cute kind of pen that when you were in elementary or junior high school, you really liked this kind of pen? Yes, 4 different colors. Now it's kind of a juvenile toy, but I find it's actually quite handy. So the key principle is when I did the outlining, this taped up here, I outline in red, not black or blue. Red or green will work. So I did it in red so that I can see where I've been. Does that make sense? If I did it in black or blue pen, I wouldn't be able to see very well what I've traced and what I have not yet traced. Does that make sense? So just again, for those of you who are artists and you want to do this trick, use a different color ink. And a ballpoint pen is perfect. Don't use a felt tip pen. Don't use a pencil. Use a ballpoint pen. It gives the rolling action is perfect. So when I was finished with that, then I had this canvas with, let me zoom in here real quickly so you can see what it looked like. So this, I haven't done I've done everything except the faces. So what you see that looks like a pencil drawing here is actually this, what I call homemade carbon paper, okay? I had that print with the charcoal on the back here and traced it. And this is the lines. Pretty clean, huh? Pretty good job. Does the job well. So there you go. A lot of technical details that many of you don't care about, but thanks for watching anyway. Hello, Cheryl Scanlon. Good to see you. Thank you for speaking up. Yeah, I don't. Uncle says I don't charge enough. You're correct. Thank you. Also, by the way, this figure right here is a rendering of the actual man. So we looked him up. Vidette sent me some photographs of him in the day, so that's the real guy. Whew, all right. So now I can't work with these pencil lines because as soon as I take a couple brush strokes across those pencil lines, they would completely evaporate and disappear, right? So that's where I'm down to now. And lucky for you, I've already done all of this. All I have left to do now, and this is just here for reference so I can look at it. All I have to do now is finish drawing with acrylic paint, is finish drawing basically the 3 girls' heads. All right, so let me point out something that some of you probably know this or you intuit this already, but when I say that I'm tracing something, like I had the carbon paper print taped to this, and I had my red ballpoint pen, I was tracing. Let me be clear. I don't literally trace. I reinterpret. And I'm doing that same exact thing right now. Like right now, I have a little hair on my brush, a second. I have pencil lines on the canvas, actually charcoal blueprint, carbon paper lines, you understand? But they look like pencil lines. and I'm, quote unquote, I'm tracing over them. But please understand, if you're an artist, and I think you probably already know this, intuit this, but maybe not. I'm not slavishly copying what's on here. That would be a waste of time and energy, or waste of opportunity, really. Does that make sense? I can zoom in here a little bit for you. No. What I'm doing is I am redrawing, so I'm not copying exactly what's here. I'm using the lines, the carbon paper, if you will, the charcoal lines that are here to my advantage, but I'm making little improvements on the drawing. See, again, I'm not slavishly copying what's already there. I'm using my artistic intuition, my artistic sense, and in this case, drawing a girl's hair. 1981 girl's hair, by the way. That's very important. All the fashions, all the clothing here, and so on and so forth. I've tried to imitate and remember 1980s fashion, hairstyle, makeup style, and so on. So it should look a little bit old-fashioned to you. If I've done my job, it'll look like, ooh, that looks like the 80s. Bingo, thank you. Glad to hear it. So let me get back to the big picture, if you will. This is a very unusual assignment for me. I don't even know what to call it. I'm not sure what to call this art form. As I said earlier, it's kind of a cross between Norman Rockwell, Americana, happy, simpler days is one of the expressions we use to describe our past. Could it be that life was oh so simple then, or has time rewritten every line? If we had the chance to do it all again, tell me, would we? Could we? Okay, some of you don't know. She said, what is he talking about? Okay, that was The Way We Were by Barbara Streisand, 1975 or 6 or something like that. Again, once again, showing my age. So each of these girls, their figures, their faces are completely drawn from imagination. I talked about that quite a bit last week when I was doing the sketch phase of. You can go back and watch me do this sketch last week. Because I used the opportunity to talk about how, as an artist, if you want to be, quote unquote, if you want to be a real artist, and I hesitate to say that because, let me say this, you can be a real artist and do whatever the heck you want. In fact, you can be successful and happy and so on and so on, so forth. But if you want to be an artist, like I'm an artist, which means the phone rings, the client says, just like that, I don't know if you can do this, but have you ever drawn a painting of somebody's memory? Okay. If you're not an artist like me, then you have to say no. If you're an artist like me, and I'm just trying to leave a wide open gate for all of you. You can be whatever kind of artist you want to be. But if you want to be the kind of artist that can essentially say yes to every request, then certain things you have to be able to do. One of which is you have to be able to draw a believable human figure and a believable human face. So please, I showed you the pictures. In fact, let me go back just to remind you. This is essentially the photograph of these three girls. Completely different posture, facial expression, angle, and so forth. All I can, and then my friend Vidette in the middle, I was helped a great deal, as I said, as I showed you earlier, when she sent me, of all things, when she sent this one. This ended up being the most helpful, which is really ironic, isn't it? But anyway, it was. My point being, if you want to be a full service, how about that? Let's call it that. If you want to be a full service artist, which I know, I mean, most people listening to me, that's not in your career path, really. But some of you, there might be a young artist, and I do hope that I get young, aspiring artists to watch my channel occasionally. If you want to be a full service, a competent artist, you must be able to draw the human face and the human figure. Now, the reason I'm even camping out on that principle as hard as I am is that the bottom line is, want to be an artist? You got to do your homework. And I all my homework is upstairs. So at this point, normally I would grab one of my sketchbooks and fly it open, but they're all up in my upstairs studio, because I talked about this last week. I'll repeat this much though. There are two separate and distinct skills, separate and distinct activities in which you must engage. Two different styles of learning if you want to be able to draw the human face or the human figure. Two separate, and I wish someone had told me this decades ago, because I think I would have paid attention. Two things you have to do. One is you have to look at the human face and figure and draw it. Now you can do that you can attend, in your town, maybe there's an artist group that gets together once a week or once a month and they do figure drawing or whatever. You can do that. I recommend that. Or they do portrait drawing, like intentional. Set a person up on the platform, shine a light on them, and everybody draws them or paints them for the next 2 hours or whatever. That's a great activity. But you don't have, if you don't want to do that, you can do the same thing just by paying attention. In fact, the first time I realized this was a couple years ago. I had my sketch, I was traveling across the country, and I had my sketch pad with me. Yay for having my sketch pad with me. And while I was waiting for my plane flight, I thought, I know, I'll be real sneaky and I'll draw people here at the airport. Well, here's what I discovered. You know what? It's a heck of a lot easier to draw people in public than it used to be. Do you know why? Like in the olden days, people would be looking around. But do you know what everybody's doing today? They've all got their phones. So everybody, as far as the eye could see, except for the people that were walking down the concourse, whatever, down the terminal, except everybody that was sitting, they were like this. So it was like open season. Now, I didn't get a lot of dramatic poses. All the poses were kind of introspective. But every single person I could see in both directions, except for little kids, every single person was looking at their phone. So, man, I could just sit there with my sketch pad wide open and look at them draw, look at them draw, look at them draw. They never had a clue. That's funny. Didn't used to be that way in the older days, because people used to look up more. And by the way, I'm right in there with them. If I'm not in my sketch pad, then I'm in my phone. This is not a criticism. I mean, maybe it should be a criticism. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about what we're all doing to our brains. Be that as it may. So there's two things you need to do to learn how to draw believable human figure and face. One is you need to look and copy. The skill of observation. Look and draw. Look and draw. look and draw. But I've got a surprising bit of news for you. If that's the only thing you do, you will never reach or attain your true potential in the area of face or figure drawing, all right? Because you need to do something else. And I call this, for want of a better term, book learning. You need to, and again, once again, I usually grab my books and show you, especially my three favorite, George Bridgman, Andrew Loomis, and Jack Ham. George Bridgman, Andrew Loomis, and Jack Ham, the three greatest figure teachers in the last century. Hang on just a second, I'm getting out a little bit of acrylic medium on my palette here, so I can do some more transparent, thin stuff. So you need to but buying those books and looking at those books does you very little, almost no good. Having, let's say, Andrew Loomis in your possession and flipping through it and looking at it and reading it does you very, very little benefit. Okay? What does do you benefit is looking and copying. That's what helps your drawing. So the two skills are rote, R-O-T-E, rote memorization. You have to study something that would be called, entitled, how to draw the human figure, how to draw the human nose, how to draw the eye, the mouth, the lips, the cheek, the ear, the hair, the elbow, the arm, the shoulder, the neck, the foot, the ankle, the toes. Do you follow me? How to. So you have to marry these two separate disciplines together. One is just do it. Go out there and copy. Look at people and draw them. That's one discipline. But you have to combine it with the other discipline, in my humble opinion. Of course, you know that's what you're getting on my channel, is my humble opinion, whether it's humble or not. That's what we're going to call it. You have to do two things. You have to do book learning. You have to do rote memorization. You have to do how to draw the human being. And then you have to do. So there you go. So am I, let me, try to, what's the word? Let me categorize, place myself for you. Am I good at drawing the human figure? Well, it depends who you're comparing me to, right? If you compare me to Andrew Loomis, well, any of those people, Andrew Loomis, George Bridgman, or Jack Ham, I will tell you, I am a rank beginner, especially Andrew Loomis. I'm like a kindergartner compared to Andrew Loomis and his skill in drawing the human figure. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I'm in the infantile stages of being able to draw the human figure compared to him. Now, compared to the man on the street, of course, I'm a freaking genius, right? Now, how about compared to most artists? Depends what you mean by most. If you're talking about, again, oil painters of America, masters, then once again, I'm not going to stack up very good. I would still be characterized as a kind of a beginner. But compared to most artists that I see and hang around with, I'm pretty good. Okay, so once again, the proof is in the pudding. These figures are not done yet, of course, but this is how good I am and how good I ain't at rendering believable human beings. But again, the real point I want to make is not to evaluate me, but to give you a realistic, so how do you get better? And I hope you're understanding. The answer is twofold. The answer is two things you have to do. Look and draw, observe, copy people, which, by the way, includes copying from photographs. That's not as good as copying from real life, but it's better than nothing. And you always have access to photographs. You don't always have access to live human beings that you can draw, right? Just doing a little bit of shading on these figures. And then I'm going to talk about, before this, I'll start painting for real here in a minute. Those of you who are new to my channel, you're getting completely the wrong impression about how I normally start my paintings. You regulars, you're going, man, this is really different. Check, why is it really different? I mean, why am I doing this painting in such a different manner? Well, because I hope it's clear, because because it's such a different kind of subject matter, right? You've never seen me probably do a quote unquote Norman Rockwell painting before, if I can just use that. Now the challenge is, see, in this painting, I cannot, I don't want these faces to be accurate, detailed, realistic. I want them to be quite impressionistic. Okay, so that's another, we'll talk about that, in another broadcast. So when I'm finished, these faces will, this is as tight, accurate, and realistic as these faces are going to be. These even more so. They're going to get way more. So let me, and I see you guys, lots of people making lots of chats. I hope to get to you in a minute. My modus operandi, my process in this particular painting, again, because it's an unusual subject matter, unusual style, my process is going to be this. I've done a lot of work to get faces and figures, especially these three, all the rest as well. I like my piano teacher over here, by the way. And I like the MC guy. Those are really good. This is as realistic as they're going to get. So my process is going to be get them accurate, get them right, get them correct, and then mess them up. Okay, that's my process. That's my modus operandi on this particular painting. Get them right first. It's hard to go the other way around, and then mess them up. If I start out messy, I'm going to be fighting through the whole process to try to get the anatomy correct. Does that make sense? So right now I want these arms to be, the right length, and torso and legs and everything, the next, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. You got the idea. All right, so I'll mess it up as I go, but not lose the anatomical accuracy of my sketch and of my underpainting. Now, this is still drying up here. When I started this sketch today, by the way, I thought that I was just going to do outline everything, and then after I got going, I thought, oh no, wait a minute, I should indicate some shading as well. So that's what you see, a little bit of values. If you look at my sketch again, you'll see that I'm going to make much play of light. Of course, the most important aspect of any painting, even a Norman Rockwell-ish painting, the most important aspect is play of light. So, and that is indicated here on the sketch. Do you see this real intense glow? There's no question. All of this goes into shadow. In fact, even this is the woman for whom I'm doing this work is this girl right here. So the chains holding up the sign, just these lines point to her head, and I'm going to, in fact, let me do a little bit of this right now just to give you the idea. I'm going to break out some white paint and do some of the glow of these letters, of these numbers, I'm sorry, right? These glowing, right? The sign has light bulbs that light up to indicate the numbers for the fundraiser, and the number right behind her head is the brightest, lightest number of all, which is the number 8. So you see, there's going to be kind of a halo. Isn't that clever? Isn't that cute? There's going to be a halo surrounding Vidette. That's her name. There's going to be a halo surrounding Vidette's head. And Vidette, if you watch this later, then I want you to know that I think you're an angel. Just kidding. But you are the the focal point of the painting. And so there's two things. This is going to be a chain. It's not going to be a solid line like that. That's just an underpainting. But there is going to be a chain. And those two chains, see, two here and two here, and those two accidentally point right to the top of your head. Again, that's just a trick, by the way, very common, like medieval, really, really old traditional method of drawing attention to the Virgin Mary is what it would be, right? In a medieval or ancient church painting, this would be Mary, and she would accidentally have these lines pointing at her head. So I want you to know that is not particularly clever of me. That just means I was awake one day in my art history class. It's like, golly, look they made all those lines point to the Virgin Mary or to the angel Gabriel or the prodigal son or whatever it may be. That's a quick reference to Rembrandt in particular there, proudly. All right, I think I'm going to stop that process right there. So I'm done, I think I'm done drawing. Now, let me check up on, some of you guys are chatting up a storm over here. Hello, Asteroid, thanks for saying hi. Hello, Light Blue, good to have you on board. Hello, Bruno. Long time no see. It is very good to see you again. Hello, Mystery Boy Secrets. Very good. And Artie Mike from Northampton, UK. Oh my goodness, I love the UK. I'm using a brush. I hope you figured that out after a while. Oh, Light Blue has to go. Bye-bye. That was nice. Short and sweet. And Mystery Boy Secrets has to go too. That's the way it goes. It's already 4 o'clock. I can't believe it. All right. Now, if any of you are new, let's see on Facebook, by the way, also with Melinda. Hello, Melinda Dilday and Sherry Maxwell. What fun. Good to have old friends watching. Okay, I've been doing the drawing up to now with a combination of this little thing of dark brown, dark black, that's kind of redundant, isn't it? Black, acrylic, and brown. So this is black and brown combination. Now I'm going to go ahead and, hey, tell you what, I'll open, just for fun, I'll open my my palette and let you watch for just a second. Whoops, hang on here. There we go. All right, so there's some, we lost Facebook. We'll monitor for just a minute. Anyway, so this is my standard acrylic kit. And this is my hot tea and honey and lemon for my cough. Thank you very much. Still struggling with a cough after I woke up from a colonoscopy 3 weeks ago today with a badly scratched throat. Weird, just weird. Anyway, I might not have enough colors there. All right, now here's the part that if there's anybody watching me that is, if you're new to my channel, this is the part that you have to watch, because now that the drawing is finished, right? Okay, let me move you back to the painting now. Now that the drawing is finished, I'm going to revert, if you will. I'm going to revert back to because you understand now this is quite permanent. This is quite impervious. Right now I could cover it up completely, which of course would be a horrible loss of work, right? It's taken me quite a long time to get this up, but I'm going to try not to cover it up. But you understand that I'm using the word inert, impervious, that it's not going anywhere easily, right? And again, this is not at all the way I normally start my paintings. I think you know that, right? Now I'm going to go back to how I normally do start my paintings. To tell you the truth, I've not given a ton of thought about color. A little bit. I think the finished painting, I've given it this much thought. The finished painting should have a slight brownish tone to it, that is sepia tone. The reason is, and this is funny, this is just artist psychology, we human beings associate sepia tone, brownish tones, with old. And since I'm indicating an event that happened almost 40 years ago, if I make it slightly brownish, it's likely that my client will go, oh, yeah, that's exactly, because we associate brownish with old. I think it's because of photography, by the way, because those old sepia tone photographs. Anyway, so I think this is going to be mostly warm. Is there any cool part of the painting? Not much. Down here may be cool. So warm up here, maybe a little cool down here. So if it's going to be mostly warm up here, then I'm going to put some phthalo blue and some ultramarine blue paint on my brushes. You ready for this? Okay, now you old-timers, you're not surprised by this at all. If there's anybody watching me for the first time, you just spit out your soup. It's like, what? What in the world did you just do? Now, I might take the liberty of lifting some of this off their faces, just because I don't want, the faces are the most important part. So, all right, so again, you regulars, you knew that was coming. You were waiting with glee, weren't you? You were looking forward to the shock that I was going to create among our new friends that might be watching. I know. Especially Uncle 60 was looking forward to the too bad we're not all in the same room, right? So we could see people spit. Like, what did you just do? That would be fun, wouldn't it? I'm going to grab a different brush. Woo! I hate it when I pick up a brush and I didn't clean it very well. You know, dang. They're real cheap, so it's just a hassle. All right, now, cool. See, cool colors up here, because I think that area of the painting is going to be mostly warm. Let me come down here where there might be some warm areas down here toward wrong, I said that wrong. Where there might be some, in the finished painting, there might be some cool stuff down here. So that means that I'm especially doing warm underpainting. And let me explain just a little bit. I'm not going to explain why do I do this. I do that. I explain that very often. I really do. I just want some variety here. Let me just explain that I normally, when I start I'm going to start another painting probably tomorrow. I hope tomorrow. This is how I normally start a painting on a blank canvas. I would do all of this craziness that I'm doing right here. That's how I start. And then I draw. So the difference with this subject matter, again, this is what I'm calling a Norman Rockwell-ish painting. The difference is that here I did the tight drawing first, and I'm doing the abstract second. I have now, in my hands, I have watercolor sticks of watercolor, sort of like a watercolor pencil, except it's shaped more like a piece of pastel. Okay, maybe that's enough of that for the moment. Now I've got some black pencils in my hand. And again, anybody new to my channel, you're completely lost, and I don't blame you for feeling completely lost at the moment. I think I'm going to wipe that out. That's going to be a little bit hard to overcome right there. So everything else looks okay. Now before I move on, I guess I'm going to pick up some clean brushes that are just wet, just have water on them, because I can use them to bring to life. See that yellow that just appeared right there? And the orange over here? That's from those watercolor sticks that I just rubbed here and there on the painting. Ooh, I like that. So I'll just summarize. I don't know that I have the energy today to get into a full discussion of why do I do crazy abstract marks underneath my realistic paintings. The answer is because I like to. Because I'm trying to make a good painting, of course. And doing realism is not a particular challenge to me. It takes time, right? I mean, and I've already discussed. I showed you in the early part of this broadcast all the steps, step on stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the sketching process that I did to achieve a realistic. So you understand when I say realism, it's not a problem. It takes time and work, but it's not like existentially difficult. It just takes time. What is difficult is creating beauty. Wow, that's a mouthful. I don't usually say it that way. Let me say that same way again. Okay, as an artist, someone who's been an artist for a long time. Hello, Artie Mike, 9 p.m. here. Yeah, small screen, bless you. As someone I've been an artist more or less my whole life. You know, my dad was a good painter, so by the time I went off to kindergarten, I thought I was an artist. Blah blah blah. That's true, and anyway. So and then I majored in art, which didn't help me much at all. We've talked about that a lot. Realism is easy. Beauty, now that's hard. And beauty does not consist primarily of realism. Okay, if that were so, in fact, there are many people who think that is so, in fact, of course. But if that were so, then the most beautiful art and the most beautiful paintings would simply be the most realistic. And again, there's no end of people that actually do believe that. The internet is chock full of artists like that who do in fact believe that realism equals beauty. I do not. Okay, let me try to give you a quick. I guess I'm getting into this whether I want to or not, but we'll just see. I'll do it as far as I feel like going. We'll take it as that far. Well, then, what is beauty? Oh my goodness! I didn't really mean to ask such a wide open philosophical step into a minefield. So let me think. Let me back up from there, because I'm not sure I'm ready right this second to answer that question, although we'll come back to it. Let me take it more. What are the aspects or the elements? What are the issues that could cause? There we go. What are some of the things that cause? Well, let's just say a painting. I know we could talk about sculpture, we could talk about drawings, and so on and so. But let's just limit, for the moment, let's just limit ourselves to paintings. What are some of the things, if you will, that come into play that would cause a painting to feel beautiful? Okay, that I can answer. I can answer that. And the answer is anybody that's had as much as a high school art education. If you had a good high school art class, this will not surprise you. Here are some of the issues and elements that come into play that would cause a painting to feel to the viewer, have them experience a sense of beauty. They are line, shape, color, design, value, texture. And then the principles of design: tension, balance, focus. The second category, those are the principles of design. The first list was the elements of design. Again, and I might be missing one: line, shape, color, design, value, texture. I'm missing one because I think there's supposed to be 7, but there's 6. That's one of the, if I'm missing one, it's because it kind of overlaps with one that I've already mentioned. I'm trying to decide what to do next. Okay, I think I can launch into this a little bit. Now, as you can imagine, I'm going to be pretty careful because it's not time for me to yet. It's not time yet for me to obliterate and lose the careful work that I've done on these faces, right? I am going to make them messier and messier as we proceed, but I don't want to lose it yet. But I do, in fact, want to make them lighter in value. So I'm just doing a translucent layer of white there to make their faces lighter. And same thing. Let me talk for just a minute about, let's go back to anatomy for a minute. And again, if you want to hear me talk about it quite a bit, then you can watch the video I did last week. I forget what it's called, but it's one of the last videos I did. Not the last one. The last one I did was me doing those gouache stylistic sketches of their faces. But before that, again, helping perhaps some of you who are aspiring artists, what enters into an artist's mind when he or she is doing things like this? Well, early on, I had a conversation with my client, who again is this girl who's not a grown-up woman. And I asked one of the things, I sent her a whole list of questions in an email, and I said, which of the 3 girls, I'm glad to grab this again just real quickly, because this is all I had to go on at the time. These are the 3 girls right here. And I said to her, which of those 3 girls is the most show-offy and which is the most shy? Now, I actually had a guess just from the photograph, and my guess was exactly correct. This girl, I believe her name is Jill, but I'm not sure about that. I have their names, but I'm not looking at them right now. I forget. She was the most show-offy. And Vidette, my friend for whom I'm doing this painting, she, as best of her recollection, she said, I think I would be the most shy. I have since learned that she is the youngest of the 3. I think these 2 are 14 or 15, and Vidette, my client, is 13. So again, that would typically, a girl that's 2 years younger would come across a little bit more demure and shy than her 2 older friends. Anyway, so being an artist, part of my job, part of my Norman Rockwell-ish job, and again, I talked about this quite a bit last week, so I don't want to do it too much again because it's repeat for anybody that was with me then. Part of me is I have to act like an author or like a movie director, and I think, okay, if she's the most show-off, do you notice this hand, see? She's kind of going like this. No, let me see, she's going like that. And the other hand, her shoulder is up. She's a little bit of a show-off. This girl's somewhere in between. Her arms are straight down at her side, but she has some tension in her body. Her whole body is kind of, her bum sticks out a little bit because she's a little bit tense, and the position of her hands, a little bit tense. But she's the most shy, and she's doing the classic fig leaf pose, right? That's what a shy person does. Hands crossed right in front of their crotch. That's, again, the classic shy pose. If you took a decent speech class anywhere in high school or college, that was the pose that your speech professor tried to get you not to do that, right? Because that's what all of us do when we're shy. All right, got it? So anyway, I'm just pointing out just some of the thought process that goes into the hidden underneath work of being an artist. So first you have to act like an actor and say, okay, how does a shy person stand, you know, when she's singing a trio and so on. So I thought about that. And then once I figured out how they stand, then what does that look like? And I showed you I actually have a mirror in my upstairs studio, so I can pick my hand up and go like this. I can make faces at myself and hold my hand and stand in front of the mirror and so on and so forth to give myself an idea. And again, my guess is that most people would be quite surprised the length to which an artist goes to execute his or her craft. But let's get back. I want to get back to the subject of beauty. Let me think about how deep to go here. Sometimes I talk myself into a cul-de-sac. It's like I start on a big serious subject and I go, oh, I just don't have the energy to talk about that anymore. So that's the nature of my broadcast. I give myself permission to quit anytime I want. The reason is because I'll come back to it another day. All right, so I'm going to be brave and start. Let's talk about the subject of beauty. I've been thinking about it a lot over the last several months. Haven't talked about it a ton, some, but not a ton. Let me cut to the, and again, this will be new territory for some of you, but if you're a philosophy major, this will be like, yeah, I know, but philosophy or history. But let me give you one of the most fundamental questions when it comes to the subject of beauty. This is one of the basic questions in the field. And the question is beauty an objective reality or a subjective reality? Now, by the way, and if there's any true philosophy majors listening, you just spit out your soup because you're saying, oh my goodness, that's not a debate. Everybody knows. There's no debate about that. What I'm reflecting to you is that in the academy, that is to say in the university, that debate is long over. It is an open and shut case, according to them, that beauty is a subjective reality. So believe me, I am not ignorant of the fact that the academy, that is to say the university culture, has declared that to be done. I am just declaring to you that I think the university is wrong. What gives me the gall to contradict, basically all the university philosophy professors in the entire Western world? Well, part of the reason is because in addition to being an amateur theologian, I'm also an amateur historian. I just know enough to be dangerous. I don't have to take exams or write a paper or PhD thesis. But, and I happen to know that the opinion held by most of the philosophy professors in the world today is, in fact, the minority opinion. And I know that given history, that opinions come and go and change. Cultures change quite a bit. So anyway, I disagree with the current crop of philosophy professors because I'm agreeing with centuries of philosophy professors past. And in my opinion, I'm agreeing with the philosophy professors of the future. Of course, I'll be long dead. I won't find out if I'm right or wrong. Be that as it may. That's part of what gives me the gall. The same thing, the same mindset that gives me the gall to go against all 20th century painters. How can I be so crass and gutsy? The reason is because I'm agreeing with, like, Rembrandt, for instance. Just for instance, I'm painting more like all the great painters of the last 2,000 years. Less am I painting like the great painters of the last 100 years. See the difference? Same thing with philosophy. So why do I think they're wrong? Well, because I think time and history will prove that the current batch is wrong. So anyway, let me go back to the question at hand. So I want you to know that I am not unaware of the fact that I am going against the prevailing philosophy, but I am indeed, because almost all the philosophy professors in the university today would say that beauty is purely a subjective reality. Now let me explain that a little bit in their favor, and I think I don't despise their theory at all. I don't despise their thinking. They may very well turn out to be correct. Okay, so I'm being more humble than it appears at the moment. Because the question can very well be asked, well, where does this sensation of beauty reside? And does it not actually reside, in the human breast, so to speak? Doesn't it exist in our mind, heart, being, somewhere? We have this sense of beauty, regardless of what we're looking at or thinking about, and so on and so forth. And the answer is, yeah, that's a good point. And again, I may turn out to be wrong. So, I'm not, as I say, I'm not really quite as arrogant as I sound, because I do know that I might be completely incorrect. I don't think I am, but be that as it may, I might be. So the theory, if you will, the theory that, hang on, need to pour a little more acrylic medium so I can mix this white and get a little bit more of a transparent white, translucent, really. I'm actually writing a book on this subject. I've been writing this book for over 10 years, and my rough draft is over 400 pages long at the moment. And I don't know if this book's ever going to get published. I hope so. But it doesn't seem to be the thing that I'm supposed to do with my time, like this week or this month. You understand? So I hope it is. I hope it will. And it may not ever be a book. It may only ever be a video, either one. But anyway, this is the subject I've worked on a long time and very hard, and continue to do so. Not just conversing inside my head, but very much looking at at philosophers and historians throughout the centuries. All right, my thesis lately, and even this could change, is that beauty is an objective reality. Again, please, and again, I can hear if there is anybody who has a philosophy or maybe an art history or aesthetics education. Again, I can hear you spewing and declaring that I'm ignorant. Well, I'm not ignorant. I just disagree with the prevailing. Okay, I could be wrong, but I think I'm not. Anyway, I think that beauty is actually an objective reality, measurable, observable, seeable, feelable. And now I'm in trouble, because now I have to try to both defend that statement and give evidence, or give examples at least of what I mean. And I'm not sure I have the energy for that, but let me give you. I'm not going to give you a full-blown thesis, but I will give you some hints of where I'm going with that thesis. We have all, I'm assuming, all human beings have experienced a feeling of beauty. We have felt as though we were feeling beauty. Can I use that word? Which again gives credence to the people who say that's all that it is. And again, they might be right, but I don't think they are. But I'm just saying, I think everybody within the sound of my voice and outside the sound of my voice has felt or observed. You've looked at a sunset, you've heard a bird song, you've heard a baby laugh, you've seen a beautiful person. A quick caveat here, quick caveat. The subject of beauty and objectivity, the subject of beauty very quickly gets tangled up, and I just want to get it out there right now, it gets tangled up with erotic or sexual beauty. Because in fact, the two are very much related. But if I had a roommate back 100 years ago when I was in college, who will remain unnamed. He's a dear friend to this day. He's still a good friend, and but if I grew up in a idealistic, if you will, sheltered, conservative Christian environment, he grew up the very opposite of that. He was a wild child. He was a motorcycle gangster. He had a very rough youth. Not because of his parents, as he had great parents, but he went for a walk on the wild side. Okay, and there were many times during I lived with him in his house with a number of other guys for a number of years, and every once in a while a subject would come up, and he would say something, and I would just go, "What?" So he was always reminding me that a lot of these words, like in his world, the word aesthetics, which for me is a very serious, big book, theological, philosophical subject. Aesthetics is a very heavy. I took a class on aesthetics in college. It was a really good one. It was in the philosophy department, and he let me know that in his world, the word aesthetics was a reference to beautiful naked women. Okay, so I want you to know that I'm aware of that. And some of you, if that's your background, then I want to rein you in a little bit and say, whoa, 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 whoa. When I talk about beauty, some are going, yeah, man, I see some hot babes. Or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. Even though, ironically, it's related. Okay, the two are related. That's all I'm going to say about that right now. But anyway, we all have had the sense that we've, again, seen or heard or felt a feeling of beauty. And philosophers literally for centuries, millennia, have struggled. I mean, the Greeks were great at this, trying to explain or define this mysterious thing. Well, I'm just going to make a few statements. Number one, it is a mystery. So if you expect me to explain it, I know you don't really, but you're going to be disappointed. And if anybody else tells you they can explain it, believe me, like a professor, they are selling something. They are, if they think they got a handle on it and they can explain it to you, they're just blowing smoke. That's all there is to it. They really don't know what they're talking about. They have an agenda, or they closed their mind at a certain point in their journey and decided, no, this is for me. Anyway, and I am not doing that. So I will first of all admit that beauty is a mystery. I think it comes from a literal place, so to speak, in not in the physical universe, but in the conceptual or transcendent or conceivable universe. In other words, it's a you can't go somewhere and say, oh, beauty resides here. But in fact, beauty is, in my opinion, it is a reflection. And okay, I'm just going to use some scary language, and I hope not to trigger anybody for real. But hang on, I got a monitor that has died. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. How about that? a phone that's plugged in and it died anyway. Okay, I'm just gonna, sorry, you Facebook people, I lost your monitor, so I can't see any chats that you're making. I'm going to, again, at the risk of triggering some of you, because some of you, bless your hearts, are such committed naturalists, closed box, closed universe, militant, and I'm not pointing a nasty finger at you. No, this is where you're at, and that's okay. And you and I are going to differ. You're militant, atheistic naturalists. That's a good description. The modern atheist would fit that description. So if that's you, I'm sorry that I'm going, you and I are going to part company on this next statement. But I think that beauty is a literal reflection of a transcendent reality. Now some of you are saying, oh, see, I knew it. Now you're just trying to sneak God in the conversation. Well, no. I'm just trying to be honest with what I think, which is what is the best way to measure reality. And we're more than welcome to disagree with each other. In 2 years I might disagree with myself, so it's not like I'm open to being challenged. I've been challenged. I haven't always subscribed to this thinking that I'm sharing with you right now, but I think that beauty is a literal reflection of a transcendent that is beyond mere naturalistic, scientistic, by which I don't mean science, I mean the religion of scientism, which I'm sorry, I'm triggering some of you by calling it that. But there's, in my opinion, there's no question that there are many in Western society, especially in the academy, that subscribe to a religion. They subscribe to their scientific views with religious fervor. And and some of you are saying, well, you sound like a religious person. Well, I would protest at that. I would say, no, I'm very much a objective reality kind of person. Let's see if we can get Facebook going again. All right, I'm going to stop there, and I may stop broadcasting as well. I left you all dangling. Okay, so all I gave, as far as philosophically, was I think beauty is an objective reality of a transcendent reality. That's part of the reason why it is so mysterious, because it's really hard to wrap our mind around, because our mind can't wrap around it the way it can wrap around our five senses and the three-dimensional space-time continuum in which we find ourselves floating. Okay, so let me tell you where I'm going to go next. I'm going to end this broadcast. Goodness knows it's gone on long enough. Let me see. Valahia Daka 21. Where should I begin in improving in drawing? I've given you that answer. Two things: looking and copying, and then doing your book learning. Learning from books that say how to do this and that and this and that and this and that. Hello, Barbara. Good to see you. All right, and we're getting some static now, aren't we? Sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to end. So let me just tell you where I'm going to go without your company. I'm going to do some local color, that is realistic color glazes. Big brush stuff, but I'm going to warm this up because, again, I want this to be mostly, incandescent spotlights and against a neutral beige wall and so on. So the whole thing is going to be bathed in a warm light, going to darker in the corners, darker and bluer down here. I'll give a hint of pink on this dress. Her dress is literally black. I forget what color her dress is. I'll do a little bit of flesh tones here and there. But anyway, that's where I'm going. So the next layer is going to be realistic, broad brush, realistic color. And as you can see, the original abstract, you could still, it's peeking through everywhere, but it's greatly diminished from what it was a little while ago. And after that, after the realistic glaze, is probably another layer of white, and then who knows. But anyway, thanks for your company. I do hope I can broadcast again. No, I can't. Good grief, it's 4:45. Nope, this is my last time flies when you're having fun. This is my last broadcast today. I do hope to broadcast tomorrow. All right, thanks for watching. Leave your chats and comments. I invite all of you who want to engage in a historical philosophical conversation. Go for it. Thanks for your company. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.